was half certain that there was a particular thing around here for taking on timed mode. Let's see. I guess not. So I'll add it here. First, I have to figure out what is necessary for timed mode ticking. Game end management, loss conditions. This. Simple variable. So let's see. So what I want to do here is I want to make sure that the ticking is considerably a background sound. Initially having a high volume for like the first second or so, but then having a much lower volume for the majority of the time, uh, or rather having a volume that slowly creeps up from like nearly indistinguishable or nearly unhearable, very background sound. So important to stay hydrated. In any case, I also need to make sure that this is not dividing by zero, so a test to make sure that this is larger than zero will be helpful. If it's smaller than zero, then I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think there's any bounds checking on that. But if it's larger than zero, then it will go ahead and execute this code. Now I don't want it to just snap back down, so that's why I have volume manipulator and not volume control. So what I'm going to do is a bit of a weird average. So I will multiply this by like 7. I will add I'll uh, add uh, taking that volume control to, or I'll multiply that by 7. Add taking volume manipulator and take the entire thing and divide it by 8. That way we have basically volume. We have an average of 7 of these and 1 of these, which should lead it to have a not so jarring drop in volume. Let's see. Audio sounds on a channel. Play a sound on a channel. Sounds effects non-diegetic and clock ticking. I'm going to say this deserves a 3. Yes, I want the sound to repeat. And initially has a volume of 100. Its volume from then on will be controlled by a particular piece of code. Volume. On sound channel 3, we want the volume to be equal to volume control. Setting this challenge custom. Alright, current challenge timer is greater than 0, then this will take place. I think this should be fit in with that. There is something else though. Since I do have a wind-up sound, I will also be using that. I think this might work. I'll set that down to a 60. Wait, hold on. Save. There we go. I can see one issue that I have made so far. This should not be looping. So I'm going to set that to a no and just uncheck it. I'd rather not test it if I uncheck it without setting it to a no. I imagine the behavior would be just that it just automatically assumes a no, but I'd rather just, double down on it. Neat. All right, so that works as expected. What about when I first enter? Absolutely not. Though it does sound like the volume does go down. All right, so first, I realized that I should probably do something like audio, sound is being played invert and on channel 3. This way, if the sound is not being played on that channel, then it will start playing a sound since this is inverted. Ah, about 15 minutes was spent on that. I feel like that was despite the fact that it wasn't working correctly, I feel like that was a nice volume slide downwards. Pop scared me. It was a water bottle. Take one of these, going to take another one of these. There we go. I'm just going to listen to this, see if it does go up. seems like it's going up faster than, or it's a lot more present than I had originally intended. But maybe that's just because it was set for 90 seconds. I should probably have the thing say like timed out. And have the clock stop. Just gonna set those to 0. I'm gonna copy this over. I'm also going to change this to 5 minutes. Going to, again, this is a little bit to taste, but I want to make sure that it at least sounds correct. I think I might extend the initial period for like 2 or 3 seconds after. Okay, immediately goes to a very background sound, which I feel like the point in time where it swaps over to being background sound is a little close. But that can be adjusted. Perhaps I should do this instead of trying to program this mathematically, more hand select some values, and then only really at the end do a sliding value. I feel like at the moment it's a little bit more intrusive. All right. So first, when round timer is less than 5, so I'm thinking like the last 30 seconds or maybe the last minute. So if uh compare two expressions, it's greater than 30. For now, it's going to be 30. Less than 5. Or actually, uh, this would just be better. Three different cases, one overriding the other if it's that close. Actually, I think this part is kind of important. So, for that time, and just to make this a bit more, how do I make the this slide up from? Okay, so this will give me a number between 0 and 30. It will give me 30 when it's at its maximum and 0 when it's just about to run out. Uh, at its maximum within 30 seconds. So when it's at 30 seconds. And I guess the way I could invert that is by encapsulating this. Let me just double check. So 30 minus 30 equals 0, which means that only 10. 30 minus 29 is 1, which means that uh, actually this would just ramp it up at the end. Actually, that would be, sorry, this would be 1 out of 30. So it would still give me a decimal percentage. Or it would give me a decimal number. I think, wait, hold on. This is correct. Actually, I think I want to make the game state is equal to loss to just set it to 0. Just waiting on some code to compile. Sounds pretty foreground to me. You know what? I can at least test one thing. Stops on death. All right. So let's see. If settings current challenges timer is greater than 0, and whatnot. All right. First, that's going in there. This is going in here. This in here. This in here. So if round timer is greater than 5, this needs to be less than. I should do this. Alright, trying again. A lot of my programming is just failing and trying again. I'm not hearing a lot of sound decrease. Why isn't it working? Hold on. Okay. So, round timer is less than 5, then it will be set to 100. Round timer is greater than 5, but uh, hold on. Is this supposed to be greater than? Then this would be less than or equal to. You know what? There a thought that was already Probe 14. Ah, there's actually something else I wanted to do this stream. And depending on whether or not this works, I will be able to do that. My plan was to introduce another expert mode or challenge modes. You see, what I said last stream was that I would go ahead, or that I wanted to include uh, writing down some evidence for the victim. But I figured that that probably wouldn't be the best idea. But I then later figured that I could add it as an expert mode. This way, it's not normally part of the game, but you can add it. Okay, so that worked. All right, hold on a second. I'm gonna pause this for a bit so that way the timer's not. Ah, frick. Bit pointless now, but the door is over here. Then there's the key. Then the door is over here. Then there's a key. I think that will stop ticking. When it hits 270, I should start hearing it increase. Bit of a drastic increase. So the problem is related to this. To make it easier on myself, I'm setting this back to or I'm setting, where is it? Setting this to 45 seconds. Actually, it's 45s. Uh, but that leaves this. Just yeah, so the bigger number does go first, and that's what I thought, because 0 minus 1 is -1. So global variables, variable round timer. This means that when it's close, it should actually be 30. That might be why. I'm going to encapsulate that once more. See if that works. I'm resuming that. Okay, I mean, that's still kind of a drastic decrease. I feel like I should maybe do a bigger average. And that's a drastic increase. Let me double check that. I like that unintentional feature. I'm going to call it a feature that this actually, the ticking sound waits for the wind up sound to complete. Let me just double check something. So probe 17 and 18 are related to uh, control and input, which means that this is already ridiculously out of hand. 16 is related to the current timer, and 15 is how much time is left. Seems to be the same as 13. Is that true? Oh, yeah, it's true. Okay. I have two probes on one thing. Okay. 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 So the steps here. let's grab this. So this is supposed to get the remaining time. And this remaining time, if it's within this condition, should be divisible by 30. And could be multiplied by 90, an addition of 10, 10, 10, 10 afterwards. So we're back at where we were. Unless 1, 2, 3, 30 1, 2, 3 divided by 30 multiplied by 90 plus 10. Okay, so from the top, this should get the difference. This should subtract 30 from this, which, because this is always going to be 30 or less, would mean that this is 0 or more. This will then divide by 30. And then that would get me a variable between 0 and 1. This will multiply by 90, and this will add 10. These just work. Waiting on a compile. Okay, so that time it worked. I quite honestly was not expecting that. Right. One thing I want to change, however. 10 minutes. I feel like that might be enough for what I have planned, and if it's not, I can always just carry on a little bit further. Needs a much more drastic, or much more not so drastic, change. So, again, this is kind of just a to taste thing, but I want to get this. Uh, I want to get this to my taste. A gentle, uh, a gentle drop. There's no question that it's rounded. It's just I want it to be a little bit more like a slope that would be nice to ski down if I were the skiing type. Nothing too fancy, just a gentle slope. One of the things I did today was I got my phone to ring. Uh, okay, without any context, that does sound weird. I am sometimes prone to just leaving out context. Now that is what I'm talking about. Any case, so I recorded my old telephone, my landline Model 500 telephone, and it ringing, which be- before today I wasn't able to do. But one who never gives up eventually succeeds, I suppose. And whilst I guess that's not necessarily true for every situation, it was true for me. I got it to ring, and it was beautiful. Okay, so game and management, wind conditions. I'm gonna add a wind condition, or a wind condition, not a wind condition. I ain't talking about gusts of wind. I want an and. But more importantly, I want an or. on OR that has ands in it, particularly an OR that has two ands. Case element victim is 1 or 2, but a little bit more complicated than that. Is advanced, or it would be variables, uh, value of a global variable, challenge, settings, challenge, current challenge, expert mode, a child variable, and this will be document victim, expert mode. Either 0 or this could be 2. This does mean that I have to add one thing to stage 6, which is, or actually a few things. I need to add a new default for challenge, current challenge, expert modes, document victim is 0. All the or the expert modes should be 0 uh, by default, but I also add a thing to explicitly set things to 0. I might also add a relaxed or relax modes where like a relax mode might be like, oh, you only need to find the weapon, you don't need to collect it and turn it in. There's another one that I want to add. Yeah, okay, I'll just stick around a little bit longer. But it is a a mode to require finding the particular thing you want to, like if document victim is enabled, then it would require that you had found the victim to grab the notepad or the clipboard. And for the knife, it requires that you had found the knife. So, I suppose this means that I have to add a new thing. Actually, a few more new things. So, first, uh, actually, what document or what require fines would do is it would prevent you from just grabbing an evidence bag immediately. You would actually have to find the weapon first. Okay, so this will be require fines. If I remember correctly, that is how it's spelled. Yes. Either 0 or 1. And, hold on. Case elements of weapon is 1. So I'm going to advance 4, advance, and I'm going to move this in here. Wait, hold on. Right. So we put this in here. This way you can get a weapon bag or evidence bag either by not having to require fines or by having the weapon discovered. Which I might also do some extra parsing at the end of all of this to make sure the map is ready for requiring uh, requiring fines by deleting every evidence bag pickup. There we go. And I want to swap between uh, number 1 evidence bag and number 7 blank clipboard and document. One thing I might want to do is uh, understanding that I'm gonna have to change this later, but no, at least give me something. Is that just so that way you don't have to carry around an evidence bag. Not very useful, but nonetheless, I will have it there. Well, I'm going to test that later, as in probably tomorrow, because it is getting pretty late, and I'm going to be done with this stream. So, if you were here in chat, thank you. If you are watching this later on YouTube, thank you. That is going to do it for me today. So, until I see you again, this will be goodbye.